New Mexico is no stranger to gun violence, including the deadly shooting at Aztec High School just a little over a year ago. And like most communities, the reaction has been a jump in the number of new gun restriction proposals. New Mexico in Focus correspondent Gwyneth Dolan visited the Roundhouse this week to find out what lawmakers have come up with and why those proposals may still face an uphill battle.
Representative Sariñana, thank you so much for being with us today. I want to talk to you about your bill that would implement background checks at gun shows. Why did you do this? What motivated you to bring it?
My biggest motivation were my students. I had a young man when I worked at Van Buren Middle School who came one day. He was a student who was just excited about math and loved school and always did his homework. But he came and said, "Miss Sariñana, I didn't do my homework. Last night at our apartments, we had someone shooting at our windows. So me and my mom rushed under the bed and we waited there and the shooting went on for what seemed like forever. Then we heard the police. Then we heard a knock at the door that said, all is well, you can come out. But when he came out, he said when he came out from under the bed, he was like frozen. And he saw his homework in the backpack. He saw his backpack, he saw his homework, but he said, I couldn't even move to do it. So Miss Sariñana, I didn't do my homework." And I watched him throughout the rest of the year, how it affected him. He went from this vibrant student to a quiet, kind of went himself. He never wanted to sit by the window, and we had huge windows. But for a teacher to watch your amazing student just kind of go into himself, it was sad. So for him, I do it.
I think a critic would say, okay, this will, kind of clog up gun shows. Maybe it'll be a little bit of a pain, but the big problem is this isn't going to solve those problems. We don't know that those people, who shot up the windows at your students' apartment building got their guns at gun shows. So, can it really solve that problem?
Well, it's a start, and it's a tool for police officers. But there are many laws we have. Murder. There's a whole bunch of things that happen that we can't solve every one. And this one, it's a tool for law enforcement. Many law enforcement support it. Many doctors, and we have people all over the state and that support it. I believe it's a start, and that's what we need to do, is begin somewhere.
The makeup of our legislature has changed with the last election. Your bill is supposed to be on the House floor this week. What are its prospects there? Do you think it's going to pass?
I believe it's going to pass. I believe the House, we're strong. We have great belief in this bill. I believe we'll pass it in the House. Senate, we're not sure, but I believe it's going to pass. I believe we need this. New Mexico needs it. It's a good bill. It's a bill to help keep our communities safer.
Thank you so much for talking with us today.
Thank you.
Senator Cedillo Lopez, thank you so much for talking to us today.
Oh, my pleasure.
So you have a bill that's related to domestic violence and guns. What are you trying to do?
Well, what we know is that in a home with the presence of a gun and domestic violence, there is 5 times more, it's 5 times more likely that there will be a homicide in that home. The Intimate Partner Death Review team reviews all gun deaths or intimate partner deaths in the state, and their #1 recommendation was to pass a bill like this, and I'm really working hard to do that, along with Deborah Armstrong.
So what will it actually do? I mean, is this like this bill allows the cops to go in and take somebody's gun if they've been accused of domestic violence?
No, not at all. Not at all. When someone has gotten an order of protection against someone because they're afraid, and they have to demonstrate to a court that there's been an incident of domestic violence within the last 30 days, it occurred within the county that they're seeking it, and that they have a credible fear. Once that happens, then the judge orders the individual to within 72 hours make a statement, a sworn statement, that they either do not own a gun or they have to turn in that gun. And they have to turn it into law enforcement. And that's really important.
What if they don't turn it in?
Then the police have authority to enforce that order and go see if they have guns and to remove them.
But they have the opportunity to do that first.
They do. They have the opportunity to turn it in, to relinquish the guns themselves. And the other thing is the police have the ability to look online to see if they're a registered gun owner, so they can find out if that's true. It's harder if they're an unregistered gun owner owner and they lie. And those are just cases we won't be able to really get.
Well, if we're talking about people who are genuinely domestic abusers, they're already breaking the law, what makes you think they're gonna tell the truth? I mean, aren't we just setting ourselves up here for confrontations between the police and people who are dangerous and have guns?
The police have confrontations with somebody who is dangerous and has a gun every time they go to a domestic violence call with that home. And what we've seen in the paper is it is a dangerous place for police officers to have to go to a home where there's domestic violence and a gun and the emotions are high. When the emotions are not high, it's simply, you got a gun, we've got to remove it, and for a period of time it's removed, and then, the person can petition to get it back.
So this bill has pretty good chances in the House. It's supposed to be there this week, and if it passes there, which people seem to think it will, then it comes to the Senate. What are its chances in the Senate?
Well, I think it's very good because a similar bill passed 2 years ago, but the governor, you may recall, vetoed it. So I think it's got a good shot, as long as we educate the new people about what it does and how important it is.
Thank you so much for talking to us about this.
My pleasure. Thank you. It's wonderful.
Senator LaBelle, thank you so much for being with us today.
You're welcome.
There are several bills being considered this session that have to do with gun rights, that would restrict gun rights. And you represent Aztec, the site of a terrible school shooting a year ago. So this is personal for you, personal for your constituents. Would these bills, any of them, help prevent another Aztec?
Well, as I understand the Aztec situation, none of the bills that are currently proposed would have done anything to have prevented that shooting. It's my understanding that the gun that was used in that activity was legally purchased. And unfortunately, the young man that did the shooting was emotionally disturbed, but he was able to acquire a legally acquired firearm.
So one of the bills we're talking about would require background checks for all gun sales. Would that help prevent other shootings, do you think?
Well, there's different ways that you can look at that. If we're talking about trade shows or those kind of things, then making sure that people have background checks and in those kind of instances, there could be some benefit to that. The bill, as I understand it, the bills that are out there currently, they would require background checks for private transfers, any kind of consideration. So me to you or you to me, those kind of a sale, just friends, family, those kind of things would also require background checks. First off, it's totally unenforceable. You can't do that. There's not a good background of data for who owns the firearms and what the serial numbers are. Older firearms were never recorded in any form or fashion, and currently they're not recorded in a detailed, accessible database.
We're also talking about domestic violence and trying to keep guns out of the hands of those who are at the greatest risk of harming those around them. How do you feel about restricting their access to guns?
Well, there's far less opposition to those kind of concepts. If you have a person who very likely could be tempted to use a firearm in an inappropriate manner, then certainly we want to make sure we can stop that. I think there's less opposition to those kind of restrictions on firearms across the board within the legislature.
You have a minority in the Senate, Republicans, although it's not quite all Republicans support gun rights and all Democrats don't. It's much more complicated here. How do you think these bills will fare in the Senate?
Well, it's probably very close because we have a lot of rural areas. Many of the Democrat members of the legislature live in rural areas. They themselves grew up, and all of their constituents grew up with firearms in the home, and it's a natural part of life for those kind of people. And they're not going to see the issue the same way that somebody in a rural area that isn't in that rural environment sees it.
Thank you so much for talking to us today.
You bet. Thank you. Appreciate it.